All right, here we are to the pens for Swift Racing League Round 3, Race 1, team time trial on the Neon Shores Loop. Newer course, older roads, so just a little bit of a mix, a little bit of different course. So we start relatively flat, about a third of the way through. We hit rooftop KOM, then flat and down over to Urukazi, back up through the Pain Cavern to a finish on the alley sprint. So here, I usually don't post these in terms of team time trials, but I thought this one was kind of interesting. It was a team time trial that seemed to be doomed for failure based on what was going on throughout the day. We had one rider whose shifters weren't functioning, so he's stuck on basically a fixie. We had another rider who had been traveling almost all day from an ungodly hour in the morning, so he was not in the best shape. And then we sort of brought in a rider late at the 11th hour to fill in. So going in, I thought it was going to be scraping together a few points just to try to have something respectable for the rest of the round. So we have some points, but it turned out to actually work out pretty well. We had really good teamwork. Chris, who wasn't able to race with us. He DS'd for us and kept us in good communication and called things out for us, which was really helpful because you're not always able to see who's behind, what's happening behind you, unless you happen to have an eye on the little leaderboard on the right, which sometimes you can see a 1 second or 2 second gap. So here it's still relatively flat, and actually looking at the split times towards the end, this is where we really did well, which doesn't really line up well with how our team was set up because we had two lighter riders in the team, both in sort of the 50 kilo range, which if you've done a lot of TTTs and Zwift, you know that lighter riders aren't really the best in terms of a flat time, a team time trial is raw watts are usually what matters most. Usually sort of like a bigger, heavier team that can really push the pace that's the same in Zwift as it is sort of in I guess, a real world team time trial. You feel a heavy rider with raw watts is going to do better. So here we are going up to that ramp just before the rooftop KOM. Now there's a little bit of a gap starting up the back, so I pull off a little bit on the power just to make sure that we're all sticking together. We want to make sure everyone gets over the rooftop KOM because from there it's flat or downhill for the next several kilometers. So here we are starting the rooftop KOM. Our strategy on this climb and on the Pain Cavern climb was to have one of our lighter, stronger climbers lead the way up. It is still draftable, so we can benefit from having a good climber on the front where we don't have to do as much of the pulling, save some of our heavy riders for the downhill and the flats. It worked out well. No one's getting gapped. There's some small 1 second, 2 second gaps here. Here, our lead goes a little bit off the front, but I'm not too concerned about it. We bridge up that gap, but I just don't want to push too hard and drop some riders off the back. Now we're hitting the downhill, and then Jim pulls through, which is great. Um, Again, I want to make sure that we're not creating too much of a gap. We can see off the back that we've got a couple riders 1 second off. So I've pulled basically all my cadence off, coasting, hoping to string it out so that it's a little bit longer line so they can catch back on. They do catch back on here. I just had a little bit of a gap there, but I just wanted to make sure that again we're going through with as many as we can towards the end. You never know when you're going to have a connection error or some problems along that line. You don't want to drop riders too early, and then you're stuck with four. If someone has a dropout, then you're really in tough shape. Just skipping through that flat stage there, getting to the downhill into Urukazi. And one of the things in terms of our teamwork strategy here is to slingshot through when you can on downhills. Given the draft and when you slingshot through, it can help you pull up, like especially on a longer downhill, you can maybe gain a second or two, which in a team time trial, sometimes that's just between a few places. We'll see at the end how close we were to the team in front of us. So we're just, again, slingshotting through here. Some of the heavier riders coming through, but even some of our lighter riders are slingshotting through here. And then we'll flatten off. We'll do the mech aisle corkscrew climb, which is about a minute effort. And so here as we flatten out, I pull to the front, to lead us into that climb. We've got a little bit of ramp up and then it flattens out, and then you've got a minute effort. And here, same, we get one of our stronger climbers out to the front, uh, and I'm just watching the gaps, making sure that no one's getting gapped too much here. I am sliding a little bit off the back intentionally just to make sure that we've got the group together. And then on the downhill, I'm confident that I'll be able to catch up because it's two lighter riders in the front, and my 20 plus kilos advantage over them will help me to catch up again. Sort of hit the flat here before we start heading over to the pain cavern. And again, I pick up the front to take over for the climbers. Now we start sort of our rotation again. At this point, some of the riders who had been struggling had mentioned that they're not feeling great. So we talked to them about hero pulls. So I'm trying to explain hero pulls on the fly here, which is basically when you're about to blow up, just empty the tank on the front for the team to lead them into a crucial point. So here, Demir's getting ready to lead us into the climb. Here we go. There's his pull. So he's just giving us all he's got until we get to the bottom of the climb, and then we'll take over there. So knowing that he wasn't going to finish and we're close to the end and we'll just go with four, that was good timing for that. Coming into this climb again, we're catching up to one of the teams in front. And again, our stronger climbers going to the front. We talked about a target power leading in based on how we were all feeling. And with it being draftable, he's able to hit that power, and we're able to not necessarily have to hit the same watts per kilo to stay on his wheel. You see at points I'm getting up to 30 watts per kilo draft savings, or 30 watts draft savings, not watts per kilo, sorry, 30 watts draft savings, 15 on some of the steeper bits. Here we are we're just about finished. We've got sort of flat section and last ramp. And then as soon as we get over this last ramp, Jim pulls out on the flat to the front. And then as we get back into Nyokio, I'm sort of turning into my pull there, just with a little bit over a kilometer to go. And then Jim will pull through. And then when we get into the last kilometer or so, it's just a matter of just everyone sliding through, not sprinting off the front, but just doing a strong effort and make sure everyone's still together. So here we are. We rolled in with a decent time there, 53:06. Our power wasn't great. You can see our average power was 190 compared to all of those around us. So it's basically the teamwork and our strategy that really got us to fourth, and we were just zero point 0.3 behind. It was a really fun effort. Happy to be part of it.